Hey, what's happening? Welcome to Mates TV. So, Liverpool started the summer rebuild. We've done a lot of videos on Klopp 2.0, how they were going to refresh the midfield and go again this season. What we've seen is two come in. We've seen loads go out. And most importantly, Liverpool have sold their first choice and second choice defensive midfielder, number 6, in Fabinho and Jordan Henderson to Saudi Arabian clubs, leaving them with, in the words of Jurgen Klopp, no proven number 6 at the football club. There is no other way you can slice this, is that this is careening towards, hurtling towards negligence from Liverpool in the transfer market, and it's something they need to rectify very, very quickly. And my overall concern, and I'm going to dive into this, I'm going to rationalise all of this, I'm going to try to see what, if I can fathom out what's going on. Even the solutions that they're looking for to this problem right now, the ones that are most public and most obvious, and that is Romeo Lavia and Andre from Fluminense. I'm not sure either of them are, for the here and now, the solution that doesn't leave Liverpool weaker in that position than they were at the end of last season. Now, the videos I've done so far this summer have looked at the transfers coming in, and it goes back to things like, so a lot about minutes played from the players last season, and how I actually thought just bringing Alexis McAllister in was just such a wonderfully smart piece of business, because how available he is and how good he is and how versatile he is. He had the ability almost single-handedly to revolutionise Liverpool's midfield offering, replacing all the minutes lost by all the footballers that we've moved on a free transfer, and allowing us to actually put a bit more time back into the legs of Thiago, Henderson and Fabinho. When we then added Szoboszlai, that gave us another attacking edge. It gives another prime age, but still with loads of time to improve footballer there, who again just increased the overall quality of the offering. And we've been discussing the next move for Liverpool's DM. And when we started to see links, there were a lot of links to Kefren Turam. That looked really, really likely to happen at one point. Cast your mind back to the dark ages of Amir 2 or 3 weeks ago. And Romeo Lavia was there as well. And I remember saying a lot of my critiques of all of these kind of players that we were linked with. I think Gravenberch was in there as well. Manu Kone. There was a number. Gabri Vega. I can stop, but I can go on. None of them felt quite of the level to walk straight into the team. They all felt like projects to some degree, some more so than others, and some might require moulding into a particular position. Turam and Gravenberch in particular, more considered to be wide players or box-to-box players and more offensive players, but I felt maybe had the skill set to kind of be worked into a really different type of DM for Liverpool, a more progressive type of defensive midfielder for Liverpool. And Lavia seemed a little on the short side, but good, clearly a specialist number 6, but felt like a really smart piece of business in a world where you're keeping Fabinho. Well, now we're in this world that is an alternate timeline, another universe. That's one for the multiverse and science fiction writers, because Liverpool have let their first choice DM go, a 29, turning 30 this season year old midfielder who, at his peak, I still believe was the best DM on the planet for a 2 or 3 year period there between 18-19 and the end of Liverpool's title winning season into the next one. I would contend that he was as good as anything on the planet at that point. Clearly faded last year, and that's a big point to remember on the Fabinho stuff, absolutely, and why I think there's been clear moves to start to phase him out. We saw this last summer. Liverpool were very heavily in for Aurelien Tchouameni, obviously chose Real Madrid, but that spoke a lot to, there's a guy who was playing in Fabinho's position. Liverpool clearly thought, well, we'll start a future plan. It didn't go ahead. They obviously couldn't get Bellingham as well, and they opted to stick with what they had. Then in addition got a little bit of obviously additional misfortune with long-term injuries to other footballers, yada yada yada. We know how last season went down, piss poor. But I did feel as though, okay, well, Fabinho, he's being phased out, but the best way to build a squad, and the way that Liverpool have been brilliant at building squads, is don't just get rid of footballers, replace them. Bring their replacements in ahead of time, let them grow, let them usurp them, or bring someone in better and shuffle them straight down the pecking order, one or the other. In fact, what we've been very good is buying better for the first 11, and the previous first 11 player becomes the backup player, and that's how we've built a title challenging, European Cup challenging squad over the last 5 or 6 years. It's been a really fruitful way of doing things. What this situation Liverpool are in right now is not reminiscent of the best of Liverpool and under Jurgen Klopp and under FSG. This is the representation of some of the worst under FSG and the worst under Hicks and Gillette and the worst under David Moyes, which is my time following Liverpool. The market gets so much more difficult when you sell first and buy next. And we're seeing this right now for a couple of different clubs. The strongest and most comical example of this is West Ham United, who've got £105 million burning a hole in their arse pocket for Declan Rice, and they're getting now being told £80 million to buy João Palhinha from Fulham. And obviously they're balking at those prices. They've got a weakened position in the transfer market because they can't cry poverty, and it's just easier for clubs to say, well, come on, we know you can go to here. There is a strength in poverty in a really weird roundabout way, particularly when it's not genuine. You know, if you've got money, it helps a negotiating position. You know, anyone who's ever walked through the markets, you've been on holiday to Turkey or whatever, if you just say you're not interested in the things that have been sold, it's amazing how the price can go from here to here with very little negotiation. If you just say you haven't got the money or you can't afford it or whatever. I'm making light of the situation, but you kind of get my gist on that. It's a weakened bargaining position when people know you're cash rich. And moreover, it just throws you into a market that you're not prepared to be in. And this is my major issue with where we're at so far, is I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with selling Fabinho or Jordan Henderson. I think I think Liverpool should have kept them. I think they should have, I think that would have been as the creased part players. And that goes back to the Alexis McAllister video where, I think you've overworked those players for a number of years. They're heading into the twilight of their careers. They're still brilliant footballers. If you just take care of their minutes, if you choose to take 1,000 minutes off them, you actually get better from the minutes that they do take to the field. And that's where Liverpool are woefully short right now. Woefully short. If they're looking to turn things around, if they're looking to get back on the horse this season, they can't afford another season in the Europa League for a whole host of reasons, which I'm sure you all know, but literally because people will question the manager's position, the overall value of the football club will shrink as a result, as because of the incomes going down, which will damage budgets for future attempts to get the club back on track. And then you enter a world where your top stars, and Liverpool have got a number of top stars, we still own a vast number of best in the world in their positions, or certainly in the top bracket of best in the world, best in class, can't be bettered in the transfer market footballers, who all of a sudden will go, I can take a hit of one season in the Europa League. I can take blame for not being better myself. I've got us into the situation, or I've contributed to it. I'm going to contribute towards us getting it out. That doesn't go beyond 1 year. So all of a sudden, Mohamed Salah's going to be an easy mark. Even someone who loves the club, just been made vice captain. Someone like Trent Alexander-Arnold's not, he could begin to have his head turned. God knows Gerrard did. I bet he stayed, but he had his head turned on a number of occasions, and it's the grace of God almost by which he stays at the club for as long as he does. It's a worry. It's a real worry. And again, look at the players that are being linked right now. So Lavia, 19 years old, barely played 7,000 odd minutes in all his career, and that's under 18s football and beyond. Andre's a little bit more like it. Andre seems to me to fit the model of what Liverpool would naturally be going for. There's a general sort of consensus that Liverpool like footballers who've played about 120 games of football, and actually Andre has played 123 games of senior football. It might even be one more by now. That's in the ballpark because you've got enough data to analyse them on. You can get a greater sense of what they're like as a footballer, even if they're playing at a lower level, which obviously Andre's not playing one of the top 5 leagues in Europe, which makes it a little bit harder to compare apples with apples or whatever. But both, for me, represent a step down, because as much as there's nothing inherently wrong with a 19-year-old can come in and absolutely tear the game apart, be worldy, be an absolute sensation. I'm not sure that if he was that good, first and foremost, Liverpool would be the only club at the negotiating table. Jude Bellingham is 19, and Real Madrid have just beaten off long-term interest from Liverpool to get him. There's players who are clearly identified as the best of the best of the best, and the heir apparent to the top players in world footy. I'm not saying he can't be that, but a lot of the concerns around young players is that young players make mistakes. Young players don't have the experience to handle certain game states. You come up against the wily competitors and what have you. There's a reason why, in the early stage of his career, Gerrard would always come out on second best to Roy Keane and Patrick Vieira. And that was the guy we were lynching our midfield on, and he was third best for a spell. He obviously goes on to be the best basically the best player on the planet, but you know, in those young stages of his career, it's not Gerrard's fault. It's just that you're going up against the best of the best of the best, and you can have, if everyone's got the same physical attributes and everyone's got the same fight and drive and determination. Well, what's the difference between those players? Experience is where that comes in. You know, youthful exuberance can certainly not be underrated, but in certain positions on the field, and I think goalkeeper is definitely one of them. I think anchorman, and I think your lead centre half are the three ones where just a deeper understanding of your role and the impact of you, and again, just being psychologically more switched on. And yeah, having come up against more situations benefits you in that. And that's my concern, is that Lavia could be an absolutely brilliant player for Liverpool, but it's a lot of pressure to lump on very young shoulders. You run the risk of damaging his long-term potential for trying to get results now. And it's not something Liverpool have done a lot of. Liverpool have been very canny with how they've blooded their youngsters into the team. When you're ready, absolutely. But it is... there's a short-term and medium-term benefit, but you may be sacrificing a long-term gain of a footballer's development. And some of us might hold our hands up and say, who gives a shit? He might be moving on to another club in 5 years' time or 6 years' time. So whatever, let him suffer those problems later on in his career. And I guess that's probably fair. One thing that's been talked about is obviously using a solution within the squad. And one thing I found was really interesting, just to kind of adapt to where we're at now. It is where we're at. I can get upset about it. You can get upset about it, but Liverpool are where they are. I can't see a world where anyone other than Curtis Jones starts at number 6 for Liverpool for the Chelsea game. I do think that's a bit daft. I think it's possible to massage your way through things. I think we learned this in the COVID season, that you can make do. This is not us putting. It's not a wild shout to put Curtis Jones in the 6, because as a possession-based side, the defensive aspect is a little bit oversold. I think people think of Fabinho as some sort of destroyer. He's not like a big slide tackle. He wasn't about him being physical and crunching. It was about being canny and smart and actually reading the play and cutting out things. And I think Curtis got a bit of that, but that's the thing that he lacks. What he does have actually is a very amazing set of skills when it comes to close control, bravery on the ball, short passing, dribbling, playing his way out of trouble. He very rarely loses possession, so he's actually probably one of the strongest people we've got, and he's a good physical presence, he's a good height, he's broadened out over the summer as well, so he ticks a lot of the boxes, but there's a lot of questions over his defensive attributes. But I was looking at the other names that Liverpool could potentially use, and the two that obviously stand out are Thiago Alcantara and Stefan Bajcetic. In addition to that, you've got Alexis McAllister. I've heard his name mentioned. A lot of people are going, well, he played DM at Brighton or whatever, so maybe we could be using him. Trent Alexander-Arnold. There's obviously McConnell, who we've seen in pre-season. Kostas Tsimikas has been doing the inverted role, so why not? And Tyler Morton, a bit of a forgotten name as well. So I had a quick look, and just, this is very illustrative, of course, in terms of like experience at DM with it. So this is all taken from Transfer Market, so it's never 100% accurate, but it won't be miles off. Thiago has played 472 games of football in his career. 71 of those were as a DM. Now, it's not entirely clear how much of that is as a lone DM, how much of it is as a double pivot, which is important and, as I say, illustrative. But effectively, that's 15% of his total footballing experience comes from playing in defensive midfield. Alexis McAllister has played 22 of his 182 appearances as a DM, which equates to 12% of his experience. Stefan Bajcetic in his just 40 games as a senior professional, and again this includes like Premier League 2 and under 18s and Youth League and stuff as well. 40 appearances as a footballer, 21 at DM, which 52.5% of his whole career spent at that. Lavia is 81 of 89, which is a 91%. Andre is 101 of 123, which is 82% of his career. It leads us to see why they're targeting these guys. Again, we took more towards specialists. These are people who've, experienced that. And again, the COVID season, what was the big lesson that we took away from that? Buy more centre halves, yes, but actually, when push comes to shove, you're better off playing lesser quality people who are specialised in that position than better all-round quality footballers who've played less time in those positions. So we were better for having Nat Phillips and Reece Williams at centre-half than Jordan Henderson and Fabinho. Not least of all because it weakened our midfield offering by taking them out, but because actually just put the guys who know the position. And one thing I've kind of bemoaned as a little aside this last few months is like a lack of a Damien Plessis at the football club. And people old enough will remember what I mean by this, is that Liverpool under Rafa had a little spate of injuries, and you had Damien Plessis, he was like 18, 19 years old, playing for the unders, but he was like 6'4". He came in and he was a DM, and he wasn't like an exceptional DM. I've got no idea what happened to his career outside of those handful of times when he was in and around the first team squad, but he just fit the profile. Young lad, drop him in, and you know, this kind of thing we did with Reece Williams at centre half. Pseudo professionals at this, dropping them in. And we definitely need to go and get a specialist. We do. And I am concerned how few options that we've got who can really legitimately do this. In fact, as I said, I mentioned his name earlier, Tyler Morton has played 101 games of footy and he's played 41 at DM. That's 41%, give or take. It's like 40.58 or something percent of his games as a DM. He's recovering from a broken metatarsal at this point. I wonder whether he would have had a little bit more game time, because he's played games at DM for Liverpool, big games, Premier League games. Curtis Jones has played one game at DM for Liverpool, and that was in a League Cup game against, I think it was Norwich City. As much as he looked promising under 21s, and listen, if we were going into the market this summer, and God knows a lot of the players we were looking at have been there, you know, Lavia was meant to be there, Gabri Vega was there, Teram and Manu Kone were there, etc. Nothing to say, you know, a 21, 22-year-old lad playing centre midfield for the team that won the under-21s Euros. I think we'd all be very interested in seeing that. It's just that we know that Curtis Jones is more of an offensive player. We know he can do the business. He was looking so good in that left-sided 8. It might be a case of needs must. It might be a case of, listen, Curtis Jones won't be, I don't think Curtis Jones will be crying about it. You know, he's just looking, Liverpool have just bought 2 players who are effectively playing his position. There's a chance Gakpo might be doing more in the 8 this season as well. And Curtis is going, I'll grab my game where I can. Hey, Trent Alexander-Arnold is a midfielder who gets his game at right back and becomes the best right back on the planet. And what I'm saying is it's possible. Curtis has got a great skill set and the right level of physical build. I don't know if he's got what it takes to be a DM, and I am concerned. And I don't really think Liverpool, if they want to challenge for 4 honours, and bear in mind, I don't think we're going to challenge for the title this season, but I think we should be having a good fist of it, regardless, because things can come out of nowhere. I don't think you should be writing seasons up before they start, but we're making it harder to do that, to hit the ground running by having people learn on the job. In keeping one of Fabinho or Henderson, we just had a safe, steady pair of experienced hands there to not just coach the player through, but also break glass. They can drop in there and do a job. To lose James Milner on top of that as well, when you've already lost James Milner, it feels borderline negligent, if not totally negligent to me. And that doesn't mean opportunities can't arise. They do. Football is a game where heroes are forged, and from unlikely circumstances, players get their game, they get their chance. Michael Owen gets his chance because Robbie Fowler gets injured, and then Michael Owen ends the season scoring against Argentina for England in the World Cup, and is forever, like, you know, that's his career. You know, his career was off and running. I know it's short-lived. He will be remembered forever, and he only really gets that chance because Robbie Fowler gets injured. These things, football is littered with these things. This might be Curtis Jones's major opportunity. It might be that, you know, in 2 or 3 years' time, we're looking at Lavia and Andre as the greatest midfield options Liverpool have ever had. It might be the case, but from looking at it from the outside, in the absence of all the inside knowledge and data and statistics and all the stuff that the Liverpool professionals who are very well paid to sort these problems out have. Admittedly, for me, we are right now. We haven't signed either of those players. We are woefully short. For me, I think you need 2. If you're going to get someone who isn't absolutely ready-made, I think you need 2. Someone else might step up and prove that case. You know, again, it could be Tyler Morton, it could be Curtis, could absolutely run right with it. Thiago might be able to do bits. But Chet is just such a talented player. He might well just be the answer. For me, I think we're lacking a real nailed-on, experienced first-team footballer here. Any of them could be it, but this feels like a gamble, and I don't like it when Liverpool gamble. Every transfer is one, but there is a degree of surety that comes when you tick a certain number of boxes. Amount of football games played, physical attributes, experience on the pitch, level at which you've played. they're all contributing factors, and I'm a bit underwhelmed with the players that are being linked with for that position at the moment. I love to be proved wrong, though. I desperately wish to be proved wrong, because I can't change what Liverpool do in the transfer market. I can't say, no, actually, give him back. Send him back. I didn't want him. Go and get him instead. It's not how it works. I'll learn to love whoever it is, and I'll give the support to any Liverpool player who comes in through the door. But right now, understandably, I think I am, and I'm sure you are a little concerned with the dealings at the moment. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section underneath. It is a bit weird. It is a bit mad. I just felt we were really on a brilliant track. You know, we're in a world where McAllister, Szoboszlai, and then a young DM protege. That was the midfield rebuild done for me. Now you're talking about a week from the season starting, and we haven't even got a true proper starting number 6. And we haven't resolved, I think, a need for at least one centre-half as well. Little concern. Work to be done, time in which to do it. But it does feel counterintuitive to have the football season kick off and not have these guys in the door, to have gone through all these training camps that Klopp fought for, but him not to have the players that they're going to be integral to his side with him on those training camps. We'll see. Hopefully things change in the coming days. But yeah, thoughts in the comments below. If you want more brilliant things in your life, then I would highly recommend checking out my brand new book, Bobby Firmino, Best in the World. It is here. It's amazing. If you love Bobby and you want to give a boss gift to yourself or a Liverpool fan in your life, it's big, it's A4, it's premium, it's very limited edition, and there are author signed editions available on redmenmerch.com. I'll play it out on a little advert from that. Other than that, thank you so much. You guys are boss. Try your best to keep smiling. Look, nothing we can do about it. We've just got to try and fathom out what they're doing, and then hopefully watch Liverpool take to the pitch and win football matches. Wouldn't that be great? Nice one. Bye.
Hey, our brand new book has landed. It is Bobby Firmino, Best in the World, an A4 format, prestige, limited edition book featuring incredible insight into the life and times of a Kop icon, taking it back to his days, his boyhood days in Brazil, his transfer to Hoffenheim, and a season-by-season guide to his time on Merseyside. Follow the story of Bobby Firmino, get great stats, insights, quotes. You're going to see fantastic photos from his times at the Reds and unique artwork from a whole host of incredible Liverpool artists as well. It is a very limited edition, limited run, one and done. Grab one while you can. We've even got a special author signed edition available as well, and even more limited quantities. Head to redmenmerch.com. You are sure to be thrilled and marvel at this wonderful creation of ours. Yes, head to redmenmerch.com, grab one today.